internet, y'all got us all the way up. We met that dude, Duke the Jeweler, the night before. We was down. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage, dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. That's when somebody tried to kill him.
He's the one that's tied to the dude that makes the loaded dice. Right? Check the play out. All entertainers, when you go to Houston, stay away from J Prince Jr. The whole thing. He gonna
There are fake smiles everywhere, a velvet table and blood-red dice. The laughter, however, had a menacing undertone. The jeweler, Duke, did not simply take a risk. It surrounded him. He wasn't a dubious business person. He was a Chicago icon, self-made, immensely successful, and well-respected. But it didn't matter. That room was full of sharks, and someone had already made up their mind. People say the hit wasn't random. No ski mask, no escape vehicle, no back alley. They were all smiling when Duke left Boosie's dice game. The kind that masks perceptive aim. Once they were dapping him up, then they were communicating in a non-deceptive way. These are the signs that the federal government is currently keeping a careful eye on. And who is the troublemaker, you know? 50 Cent, revealing receipts, cryptic messages, and overt clues that suggest this might have been a far bigger setup than anyone had thought. However, this is where it becomes interesting. Jay himself sponsored a mob ties game where Duke was the center of attention. Prince Jr. at another dice game 2 weeks before Takeoff's disaster. And suddenly, when the incorrect guy starts winning, the whole room transforms. Grins disappear, eyes shift. Every member of the circle, including Boosie, J Prince Jr., and Lil Cam, is under scrutiny. A full-fledged investigation has emerged from what began as street whispers. Therefore, was it just bad luck? Had the table been prepared before Duke had even sat down? Duke was not just distributing diamond necklaces to up-and-coming rappers in an attempt to increase their popularity. He was making unique sculptures for well-known people in the business. His brand, his reputation, and $1 million duffel bag full of chili heat were all his. He had arrived in Houston for more than just sightseeing. According to rumors, Bowie personally called him to talk about business, something special, or something exclusive. Then Duke drew up all in. But he didn't realize that this might be his final lap of the game. Let's look more closely at what actually happened at the dice table. Wasn't your average dice game, according to recordings that were made public and linked to WAC 100 Yes, intelligence at the street level. According to reports, it was embellished to resemble a party. The situation with Jay is now mentioned by insiders. As a loaded dice rang, Prince Jr., they keep using the same names. Big Capri, Little Cam, and Wolf. The dice are rotated by a close-knit group as though it were a secret ritual. It's always against you unless someone makes a mistake. And that's exactly what occurred. According to WAC, Duke was able to get the swap. He started rolling past the decoys and accumulating large amounts of cash. They started with hundreds, then thousands, and so on. But when you defeat a system that was not intended to be won by outsiders, its designers start to worry. What happens next? Its atmosphere shifts. Let's talk about how this night went from luxury to chaos. Dice nights. According to insiders, Junior keeps 30% of the total sum. Consequently, Duke's success in cleaning up and piling victories wasn't just a lucky streak. There was someone tampering with someone's wallet. and the loud, confident, iced-out, unrepentant gestures of Duke that night. He threw money as if it were nothing, dripped in diamonds, and was shooting every second for the grams. However, things start abruptly, turning weird. Slowing down the video from that night reveals a certain scene that stands out. This is Boosie blowing a soft whistle. It's nothing outstanding, but it's enough to get attention. At that moment, his nephew turns and faces Duke straight. Then, as though conveying a silent message, a man in a red hoodie casually taps the nephew's arm. And then the entire room feels altered. Duke hasn't lost his energy. He's laughing, making jokes, and tossing dice. But the air appears to have become thicker. The smiles had shifted. It grew cold in the room. Then, a few minutes later, the night takes an irrevocably dark turn. This was not just an inclination. Body language was used to convey all of this. Since everyone in the room has already made up their minds behind closed doors, your bones are telling you. The real query is this. Why would wealthy Boosie bring someone with inconsistent energy and over $1 million worth of jewelry to a dice game? And why didn't Jay? He was obviously out of town and carrying a lot of responsibility. Did Prince Jr set up any safeguards? The total doesn't add up. Remember that time when Duke left the dice game? After hours in a room filled with diamonds and millions in cash, Duke was traveling alone across a dim parking lot in Houston without a driver, crew, or security. Anything that seems strange to you is. However, this is when things go from questionable to downright unnerving. A few minutes later, chaos erupts. Duke is the target of an ambush. The plot is drastically altered by what happens next, though. In the majority of cases, when someone is being targeted in a circumstance like this, money and jewelry disappear first. Not this time, however. Duke was found with every piece still on him. Nothing made contact. Nothing, neither the gems nor the designer. So what kind of theft results in the removal of 7 jewelry figurines? Just hours before, Duke had exposed the same outfits during Boosie's performance.
Some dude tried to rob him. Some dude tried to rob him. Some dudes that tried to rob me and walked off by himself. I had just met dude yesterday. Been trying to rob me. Dude must ain't get up.
But the real revelation was the Louis Vuitton duffel bag that held his unreleased, unique jewelry designs. Inside Boosie's residence, it miraculously returned after disappearing from the scene. Indeed, that has been verified by the Houston Police Department. It is indisputable that the bag returned, even though it is unknown if Duke handed it to Boosie for protection during the dice game or if it came in some other way. No, Duke did not. Furthermore, in an unsteady Instagram live from a private jet, Boosie replied that he rarely even acknowledged Duke's assertion that Duke just up and departed. However, that makes no one pleased. Give it a minute. Didn't Boosie mention that Duke was going to build him a unique piece, even though he claims he didn't really know him? You saw a man flash over 1 million pieces of jewelry while you invited him to a private dice game, and then you left him to walk to his car by himself in the dark? That is not a logical story. Moreover, it becomes even more careless. The overall tone of Boosie's live Instagram. He appeared unprepared for the questions being asked, and he was pale, anxious, uncomfortable, and lacking confidence. Furthermore, the drama did not reach its climax as anticipated. The feds, already on the lookout for unrelated legal issues, acted. After removing Duke's case from the queue, they started a new federal inquiry. This means there won't be any more delays, no more avoiding other expenses, just a laser-like concentration on the particulars of that night. So what were they doing? What do they always do? Observe the final indication from the phone. The last ping came from Duke's phone at Boosie's recording studio. Unless Duke's phone got legs and wandered there on its own, someone in that group heroically brought it. Nobody tries to take it off, no, hurt, and then it just darkened, turned off manually. It was then that the feds locked in. Next, check Duke's rental automobile. Can you guess who showed up when forensics recovered fingerprints? The nephew of Boosie, Boosie's family member. Names that are identical circle. After that, one of the witnesses showed up. Someone is smoking outside the structure. Reported to have seen Duke walk alone up to his car. Before Boo's nephew emerged out of the corner, apparently waiting in the cut, all seemed quiet and normal. According to the witness, Duke seemed uncomfortable and tried to explain himself. Tried to push back and made the initial swing.
Walked outside to the parking lot. We was in the garage. We heard this, but it's like they was far away in the parking lot. Must have went to his car or something. Dude was finna make a piece for the too. Hey.
And yet what followed did not seem to be a robbery. There was no rush to grab chains or fumble for luggage. The Louis Vuitton bag was kept and the $1 million gems were left intact. Money had nothing to do with it. This was a matter of control. And the things they did afterward were as if they didn't even care who was looking. Not only is that reckless, it's courageous. Do you believe that anyone caught it all? 50 Cent, he has been releasing receipts, hints, and connecting dots. Because when tourists arrive in Houston, they typically exhibit the same level of caution. Remember to check in. It's not in writing or contracts. In contrast, trust is sincere. Professional athletes are aware of the unspoken norm, as are artists and influencers. We expect you to check in with Jay if you're passing through Houston. Prince Jr and mob ties circle. By failing to check in, you are taking a risk that you would rather not take. But this is where it gets really weird. What would happen if you needed protection from the same individuals you're checking in with? Just let's call it that. Jay hosted that game of dice. Prince Jr Duke entered the same room with the same enthusiasm and warmth. Not to note that J Prince Jr hosted the game where Takeoff's tragedy took place just 2 weeks later. All of the check-in culture started to smell more like a setup than safety at that point. Why didn't two famous people leave Jay? What would happen if Prince Jr actually managed the city as he says he does? You have to hear Whack 100, nor did he hold back. Referred to it as an outright scam. Configuration. These performers are drawn in, made to feel at ease, and then surrounded during private dice games where the atmosphere soon shifts. The sector is now beginning to pay attention. In Houston, labels are discreetly canceling performances. A number of musicians are canceling their visits entirely. It feels poisonous and radioactive now. Meanwhile, 50 Cent is causing a stir online by reposting videos and making enigmatic, not revealing identities. But not hiding them either. Some say that he is going too far. He's the only one, they say, who has the guts to say what everyone else is whispering. Considering that it is now more than just dice games. In reality, it is about who is making choices behind closed doors.
Act like you cover for 'em, hanging out, everything. Let's go here, let's go there, let's go here, let's go there. He introduces the dice game. He got 3 mothers, right, who rotate the dice. Now these dice is loaded. Tell me it's a Wolf, Big Caprice, and watch this, and Little Can are the loaded dice rotate, right? He said why? There was a situation that occurred that a certain jeweler crowned and got half the dice on accident and was getting all them for a couple hundred. They got irritated about that. I ain't gonna go too far into that story because, right, boom, the only way they could get their money back was money back. Said, but Lil Cam Wolf and Big Caprice are the 3 designated to say I got the neck, and they pass the dice to each other.
Sources say Bowie is on the decline. Not just the feds are circling. They are drawing nearer. Duke's case is now centered on that one night, the one where everything went wrong after Boosie's prior gun charges were dropped. Deep dives have already been initiated. They are following the wealth, residences, and digital footprint of his son. But the most ridiculous part is that the sound can be coming from his own round. Boosie reportedly ran back inside that night, looking scared and obviously trying to hide something, according to rumors that his girlfriend told someone. Still, he keeps acting as if he doesn't know anything. He repeats the same lines like a screenplay. It's not being purchased. It's loud now. If Boosie goes down, who is he dragging along? You can't move alone, Boosie. He mentions his nephew's name. His cousin, too. He also has a current relationship with J Prince Jr, who is already well known due to the Takeoff event. The web is starting to fall apart, with every thread going back to that dice table. As if things couldn't be any more twisted, it gets even. More twisted? Fine, twice. Mob Ties no longer proudly supports the same artist, but now they promote someone else. He would shout Jay. Throughout every interview, Prince Jr., the man's name is now hardly spoken by him. That isn't silence. That is distance. And do you know where it all allegedly started? A woman, but not any old granny. Little Fineness's mother, the rumors. She lined him up with her mother, called the police, and had him put back on probation. Transgression. Finesse broke with the mob after that. There are no more performances. It's time to hang backstage. Silence and shadow only. Who did you think swiftly stepped in and pulled strings to free Finesse? Jay. Even Prince Sr. There were silent calls made behind the scenes. Finesse was able to walk freely again after 2 weeks. However, instead of lying, whether out of respect for the man who arranged it or low self-esteem, Finesse went back to the same woman who had allegedly gotten him locked up in the first place. Senior went on Twitter to complain after losing it. I told the homie to stay the fuck away from that woman if he cares about his life, but he didn't want to listen even after I stepped in to get him out, he boasted, showcasing his large belly. You have nothing to support the idea that these women are always out there with good intentions.
J Prince Jr, when he talked about let's go through some night, that the low dice crew at 3, whoop big, little people in there because I believe some way called it the dice situation, rest in peace Takeoff. I don't know what's going on, but what I do know this, J Prince Jr got a whole thing, and when y'all come into town, hold on, bro. Didn't they say Fifth Ward earlier that day shooting dice?
Yep, that's a fact. That word been out, Wet. That word been out. We been had that memo.
And then, so it's been getting hit all day. Running the game, people like that is a dice. That's what this nigga J Prince Jr, boy, these niggas got all kinds of shit going on. They say, he said the jeweler nigga got past the dice. He didn't even know the motherfucker was low. He didn't think he hit these niggas is mad as a motherfucker. They like, nigga, how you?
Just as many were beginning to recover, chaos erupted immediately following that post. A wild whisper started to circulate across the streets. According to several rumors, Jay, it's possible that Finesse's girl had an affair with Prince Jr and became pregnant as a result. Has it been confirmed? The figure. But it says volumes that people think that, and Finesse hasn't denied it in a word. Although some followers brushed it off as gossip, others are starting to take notice. A pattern. There are rumors of conflict between Takeoff's family, and J Prince Jr tension with Boosie is still present. As he goes through it in public for the second time, Finesse is clearly placing himself at a remove. It appears as though each bridge that surrounds a mob tie is slowly burning down one by one. And then the scary part. When your whole brand is built on loyalty, control, and silence, one individual can crack the code. After one artist, one witness, and one irate friend, the empire is no longer impervious to criticism. It is shattering. Who will break first is the real question of the day. Will Boosie finally come clean for his own safety? Is Finesse going to divulge the secret he has been concealing twice? Or would 50 Cent keep up the pressure until J Prince Jr transgresses the rule of ethics and does the unthinkable? remaining silent in order to preserve his reputation. There is no question that the decline has already begun, and the whispers are turning into knocks on doors that are locked. Now, federal officials are watching everything. They are reviewing all of Boosie's estate assets, including his home in Baton Rouge and his farm in Georgia. Every dollar and every transaction is monitored. This is not just a question anymore. It is keeping an eye on things. Furthermore, avoid misunderstandings. Being intoxicated isn't the only factor. The name of J Prince Jr is involved in it too. The music game is reacting fast. Artists are fleeing. Labels are pulling deals in silence. There is a shift in the mood around mob ties. This is not the norm, rap drama. Now it seems to be completely unraveling. Next is the wildest part. Security footage, phone cameras, and other evidence may show Duke what really happened that night. According to sources, if a single person sells the video to TMZ, the federal authorities, or the whole public, that's it. A checkmate. Additionally, no one is taking